Hi, this is Richard. Just giving a bit of a season review for Cruncher's channel. I think that we had a poor season, there's no doubt about that. But I would say, I think like a lot of fans, we probably underestimated the gap between the Championship and the Premier League. And I think that's been shown in evidence. But also, we had an awful lot of injury problems this season, way more than any of the teams around us. And that definitely impacted us. If you look at what we were achieving early in the season, performance-wise and even points-wise, because we got 70% of our points in the first, 4 months of the season, and then struggled after that, and that's when injuries really took their toll. I think there's a lot of the signing we had to buy 15 players, whatever it was that we bought in the end, for a lot of money, but we needed to, and people on the outside have criticised the fact that we didn't buy more Premier League experience. But the way that PSR is, you just can't do that, because we'd have bought maybe 4 or 5 players, spent way more than we should on wages, whereas we've actually been probably the lowest wage club in the country and in the Premier League. And we've also been in the scenario where we've had an awful lot of problems. Like I said, the people are criticising specific signings, or they're criticising substitutions and things like that. But we've competed in an awful lot of games this season. We didn't get turned over. I know we lost to the back end of the season. We lost 9 on the trot. But realistically, we were relegated by then. I'd take that with a pinch of salt, because we had so many injuries by that stage as well, that we were ending up with young players that they never expected to be on the bench just to fill the bench. And one game where we had 2 players not fit to play, but on the bench just to have numbers. So I don't think any of that can be criticised at the management or ownership, because you can't predict those kind of injuries. Without a doubt, some key problems have happened. Obviously, it doesn't take a genius to work out that we lost a lot of points because of some poor goalkeeping from Muric early in the season. But this is the keeper that we signed who got more points for Burnley in the 10 games he played in the season before than Trafford did in his 28. Yet Trafford is seen as a brilliant keeper, which he is, and has done very well in the Championship. But there's no reason to say that Muric wouldn't do the same in the Championship. I do think it'll be Palmer, that plays next season. But that's what I believe. Most fans afterward the event can go, oh, that was a bad signing. But at the time, I don't believe it was. Calvin Phillips, I think every time that he looked like he was starting to get some form, it got cruelly taken away from him by either injury or the ridiculous red card when we should have had a penalty against Leicester. I'm certainly not going to miss VAR. Officials can be bad as they like, but at least it's only one official being bad rather than on the pitch, rather than a VAR backing them up, because that's all that happens. And we saw that in the very second game, the first away game of the season, when Man City get a penalty because of VAR, where Davis is judged to have fouled, and is as bad, if not worse, doesn't go our way up the other end. That's what happens. And it's not all about VAR. We should have got more points than we did. We blew our own points in some games. Fulham, Brentford, teams like that we should have gone on to win the game. But Leicester, again, like I said, penalty and a red card that both shouldn't have been that way round. So I think I'm going into the next season more positively than I have at any point we've ever been relegated in the past. We got relegated in 2001 and 2, and we just built 2 brand new stands, and I think we'd crippled ourselves financially at that point, but the gap wasn't as big as it is now financially. And before that, the 95 team were awful, and that's it. We've not been turned over like that. I know we lost 6-0 to Man City, but they can do that to anyone, and have still ended up finishing in the Champions League even without a very good season from their point of view. I'm going into it way more positively. We've got a lot of good young players. We've recruited the right kind of players. With a couple of additions to the squad and only a couple going, hopefully, we will be in a much better place than we were last time to come up. Burns back fit, Benny back fit, Smoddick's back fit, Chaplin fully fit. Loads of players that we haven't had for the majority of this season. So I think it's all looking positive for next season.